This is the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick Sanders and Enrique Alvarez-Clary with you. Rico, what's up?
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going great, man. How are you?
Are you used to being on that side?
No, I don't know what to do with my hands.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of miss running the board a little bit.
I don't have a laptop to just, mess
That's
with.
true. I keep doing
Yeah, you always
I'm always scrolling through tabs.
You're,
and
scrolling.
like
you're, clicking stuff. And,
That's true.
sometimes I just keep my hands, on there, and I'll just, mess with one of the pods.
One of these. Just go back,
and I'll
just back and forth.
Yeah, just mess with it. And I'm like, can't do that now. I have nothing.
I'm not really one of those people that always has to be doing something with my hands.
I think I am. I always mess with my ring now.
That is
I have
true.
this little rubber ring, and this one, hold on. It's like a black one with a little red stripe. It's actually ripped in one of these spots. So it'll probably
now it's been playing with the rip.
break at some point. But I have multiple of these rubber rings, so I'll be okay.
Yeah, no. So I don't know. It's one of those things where when I'm just thinking and talking at the same time, I think I just do something with my hands and just don't think about it.
I don't think when I talk. I just talk.
Really?
It's really a problem.
That is a problem.
Sometimes I'll be talking and I'll forget where I was going with something, and I'll have to go through everything that I just said and be like, all right, this is where I was going.
One of the most embarrassing things to do as a radio host, and the only reason I know this is because I've done it, is when you're just you're on a thought and you're on a tangent, and then all of a sudden you lose your train of thought. And
just
you go,
gone.
So yeah,
and you try to end it in the most nonchalant way possible.
Or how many? I mean, there's been a lot of times where I'm I try to give you a cue, Rico, talk, because I do not know where I'm going with this.
Oh no, don't worry, I catch on to those.
Open-ended thing.
Yeah, no, I catch on to those. Or the problem that I have is when somebody else is talking, and I'll have something that I want to, go on with off of that, and they'll mention it or just completely take what I was going to say, and they just end it, and I have nothing, and I'm like,
yep. Yeah, exactly. All right, 402-464-5685, the Honda Lincoln Hotline, the Starter Heyman text line, both those open for you guys the entire day today. Want to hear from you guys. How are we feeling about Big Ten Media Days, all that good stuff. We'll probably play the Trev Alberts conversation in the second segment.
It's a good one.
It's a very good one. He sat down with our guys at Lucas Oil Stadium for about 30 minutes or so, and we're going to play that back for you guys in case you missed that. Yesterday, Thomas and Lincoln says on the text line, Thickless, that was a good 400 run. I didn't expect Captain Thicky Thick to make it that quickly. To be fair, Thomas, Captain Thicky Thick didn't make it to expect it either.
125. You did good.
That's right. We haven't dissected that yet.
We haven't,
because we've been doing Big Ten Media Days coverage.
Do you want me to dissect your run?
Sure. Yeah. If you missed it, we ran a 400 meter Monday.
Yep.
It was in the rain.
Little sprinkles.
I slipped at the start.
You did.
The track was slicker.
You recovered quite nicely.
I recovered well.
You got out quickly, as you're supposed to in a 400.
Okay.
You're supposed to coast the straightaways. You're supposed to coast on that. I mean, coasting for some people is different. It's a sprint, but you want to save some energy. You're supposed to coast, kind of keep it going, a little stride out on the backstretch.
Okay.
You kept going full speed. About 150 meters in, about midway through that backstretch. You could see you started to slow down a bit.
Yeah.
You were pushing it. Didn't use your arms as much as you probably should.
I
arm
kept telling
movement
myself
yep.
to really over exaggerate.
That's
the
what
arms,
you got to do. It's very important to overemphasize, because it helps bring your knees up and keeps you going forward. You caught kind of a second wind at the 200 mark.
Did I?
And then it immediately left you after 50 meters, about halfway through the curve. You started slowing down. You got to the final stretch, the home stretch, and you were pushing it, man. I could tell you were fighting to keep those knees up, fighting to get those legs off the ground. But you persevered, and I'm proud of you. I could tell, the breathing was heavy.
Oh, the breathing was bad.
But you did good.
Thank you.
You did good.
Thank you, Rico. I'm glad. It was a decision that was made on a whim at about 2:15 on Monday. And at 3:20, we were running a 400 meter dash.
There were 3 separate instances where the gorilla jumped on your back and slowed you down.
Yeah, it was a lot. And the breathing was heavy. It took me. I was still recovering from the breathing wise later that night. So it took less than. I mean, it took more than I should say, an hour and a half for me to recover for breathing. So I guess it shows that I'm just overweight. Once again, 402-464-5685. That's when you're supposed to say No, you're not, Nick.
No.
Honda
I'm gonna let you say what you want to say.
On the Lincoln Hotline, Starter Heyman text line. All right, Rico. So, what's your takeaway so far? We've heard a lot of the Big Ten Media Days coverage. Just a general question. What's your takeaway from Big Ten Media Days? More specifically, the stuff that you heard from Nebraska.
Honestly, a whole lot of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I am moved neither way. If we're talking, win-loss record, I moved neither way in terms of excitement for the season, except for I just want it to start already. I think people are overblowing the whole opening statement gate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I think DP kind of talked about it earlier. Maybe it was Jake. It might have been Jake Sorensen talked about it earlier, where Frost was at the side podium for half an hour talking with reporters and all that before he even went up to the main stage. So his opening statement was down on that side podium, and I know it wasn't for the entire world to see, with the Big Ten coverage of the event on that main stage. But for anybody that was following along on social media, you pretty much saw the entire half an hour that he was down on that side podium from every single reporter that was down there, from everybody that was here, from I think Jake Sorensen here at 93.7 The Ticket was down there, Vershawn was down there, Eric Strickland was down there. Like, everybody that was somebody that had media credentials was down there because they were the only people down there for quite some time. So him making an opening statement up on the main stage wasn't necessary. Just take the questions that people out. Plus, it's one of those things where whatever he says isn't going to be good enough, or it's going to be too much.
Yep, I agree.
So the opening statement gate is dumb, and people need to move on. He didn't provide an opening statement. It was unnecessary. He's fine. But the players seem excited, as you would believe that they would be going into Big Ten Media Days and getting ready for fall camp to start today, which it did start today. Garrett Nelson thinks of Scott Frost as a father figure of sorts. Travis Vokalek still looks massive, and his hair is still glorious. Mm-hmm. Quentin Newsom, I don't know why I had this thought that he was going to be fighting for a job in the secondary, even though he's probably extremely established.
Yeah, definitely.
Just hearing him speak and hearing him talk about everything going on with the secondary and the defensive coaches and what have you, I'm excited to have him kind of probably being a leader in the defensive secondary.
He's going to have to be. He's going to have to be. You're going to have to find your new Cam Taylor-Britt.
Yeah, whether it be, more of a vocal leader or just kind of leading by example, which I think he might be a little bit of both. It's exciting. Like I said, I'm not moved one way or another. I'm just excited for the season to start, and I want it to start, on Saturday.
A couple things about leadership. I've talked extensively over the last, 48 hours or 72 hours, even going back to Monday, talking about changes in leadership and how it can help out Nebraska as a program. Spoke to Trev Alberts, obviously, yesterday. Our guys did. We heard a lot from Scott Frost as well. Scott Frost was actually asked at the big podium what sets this year's team apart, and here's what he had to say.
I think we got really good leadership, kind of highlighted by the three kids that came to Indy with me. As good of leaders as we've had on the football team. I think there's a toughness about them that not our whole team, but maybe pieces of it lacked last year. And I think there's a chip on a lot of shoulders. It's an interesting combination right now of guys that have been through some of the tough losses that we've been through, and some newcomers, both on the staff and in the locker room, that haven't been through that. One of the biggest challenges is making sure we take the collection of guys and turn it into one team.
So there's that Scott Frost on leadership. There was an interesting part here. I'm going to try to find it once again right here or maybe shortly around here.
Kind of highlighted by the three kids that came to Indy with me. As good of leaders as we've had on the football team. I think there's a toughness about them that not our whole team, but maybe pieces of it lacked last year. And
there's a toughness about them that maybe lacked on our football team last year. Like, I think it's interesting. You think back to the captains last year, and this is not a knock on them, but when we're talking about, Vershawn and I did an exercise a couple of days ago where it was like, let's guess the 2022 captains. And these three seem like captain material.
Yeah.
Quentin Newsom, Garrett Nelson, and Travis Vokalek. Garrett Nelson is almost a write-off as an of a for sure captain. So there's one of them. You expect probably the secondary to be a guy. So Quentin
somebody
Newsom.
in the secondary highlighted, and if you're going
That's gonna
through
be Quentin
if you're
Newsom.
going through the secondary, he's the most veteran of the group.
Exactly. You're going to go Quentin Newsom. And then you look up on the offensive side and say, all right, so if there's going to be 4 captains,
A lot of new
guys on the offensive side of the ball, including your quarterback. One of them is your tight end is probably one of your more experienced. He mentioned in that quote, it's a blend of guys that have been through a lot of the bad losses, but also with a mixture that haven't. Travis Vokalek is one of those that has been there. And you think that out of a captain, you would probably want that experience and that knowledge and those the nasty tastes in your mouth, like as a captain, right? The tenacity. So Travis Vokalek's probably one as well. But then you have a 4th spot. And it truly feels like the way that this program is talking about how they want to address this year and approach game by game, it really feels like they're going to have an offensive lineman be a captain. Now, Cam Jurgens was one last year, but you look on that offensive line.
Who?
That's the thing. But it's like
Hickson?
I think it's okay if your quarterback's not a captain.
Is it? It's fine. You don't need your quarterback.
I agree.
As a captain.
I agree.
It's unnecessary. Your quarterback is a captain regardless if he's officially named a captain or not. So it's unnecessary to give him that label because look, he is the captain of that offense. It doesn't matter who else. It doesn't matter if Travis Vokalek is a captain. It doesn't matter if Trent Hickson. Doesn't matter if Trey Palmer. Whoever the starting quarterback is the captain of the offense. It doesn't matter.
So going through the offensive line here, I mean, a couple of the nominees or opportunities or guys that have chances would be Trent Hickson, who's a 6th-year guy who's been through his ups and downs, but had seen a little bit of playing time and then completely got axed for Cam Jurgens when they transitioned him from tight end to center. You have Bryce Benhart. You have that big group of recruiting class guys from 2019 that have been here 3 years. Have they panned out? Not really. Like Bryce Benhart has kind of been disappointing to this point. That might change this year because they're going to use him in a different way.
Well, speaking of Bryce Benhart,
one of the guys as well, but
one of the high level recruits, one of the recruiting wins.
According to 24/7 Sports back then, he was like the 65th best player in the class.
Yep.
Has he lived up to that hype?
Kansas.
Yeah. Has he lived up to that hype? I don't know. Bryce Benhart was a guy that Wisconsin was highly on. Because he was up from that area, and you have Turner,
Minnesota.
Like I said, Turner Corcoran, and I'm names escaping me on the other guys that came in on that 2019 class. But we sat there at 2019, like, all right, finally Nebraska's bulking up their offensive line,
big bodies.
and unfortunately it just hasn't panned out. So you would expect, like, I truly think that they're going to go. I mean, Brock Bando's another guy who's a 6th-year guy.
Seen it all,
but we have no idea what to expect from them on the field.
I mean, you've got and the whole, a transfer can't be a captain thing is overblown. And I think if your transfer has shown the leadership qualities that you're looking for in a captain, they can definitely be a captain. It doesn't matter if you've been here not a full year, a full year or whatever. If they've shown the leadership qualities that you're looking for in somebody that you want to lead your team on the field during practices and what have you, that isn't a coach, doesn't matter how long they've been here. I think it'll be fine. But speaking of Bryce Benhart, Frost had something to say about that on one of the side sessions when he was talking about Benhart and the addition of Donovan Raiola and how much improved Bryce Benhart has shown, how much improvement Bryce Benhart has shown with Donovan as his coach, and he's taking steps in a positive direction, and that's for a big guy like that, and for somebody who, as many people have said, has not panned out so far in his Husker career, taking steps forward with the new offensive line coach is something that everybody can be happy about.
Another guy that's new to the program that is experienced and is going to play a pretty significant role in whether or not this team has success this year is O'Shawn Mathis. Scott Frost was asked about him yesterday on one of the side sessions.
O'Shawn's another talented kid. We'll see how he factors in with the other two. We felt like we needed maybe one more piece there coming out of last year to give Caleb and Garrett somebody else to play alongside of him. Excited to see what he can do in fall camp. I think offseason was kind of a surprise for him and how hard he had to work in the weight room, and I've seen improvement from him already. That being said, I'm really excited about development of Jamari Butler and Blaze Gunnerson as well, and I think that went kind of from a position of concern to one of the, if not the strongest position on our team.
That's interesting. That last part.
Ooh.
That's interesting. That last part where he said it went from a place or from concern to kind of one of the strongest parts of our team. We were saying the same thing just a couple months ago when they received the commitment of O'Shawn. There was a little bit of a time where there was some panic, and rightfully so, when you were losing guys. Let's go down the list. We've done this before, but we can do it again. DeAndre Thomas, Damian Daniels, Jordan Riley, Casey Rogers, the four big names there. And it was, all right, where's Nebraska? I mean, Nebraska's pass rush last year, they did a decent job of
Feldarius Payne.
Feldarius Payne was also one of them. Getting to a decent job of getting to the quarterback. It didn't result in a lot of sacks, but they at least applied a little bit of pressure, not nearly where you want to be, though, for a Big Ten West program. And a big part of it was also Damian Daniels right in the thick of it, just taking up space with that big body, with the big body. But now you look at this room, and Scott Frost talks about O'Shawn Mathis and Garrett Nelson, Caleb Tanner, Jamari Butler, Blaise Gunnerson, who we saw in the Wisconsin game last year. Those guys are all quick. Those are quick dudes.
Oh yeah, those are guys that you're asking to get to the quarterback on the edge, and that edge rushing spot, those outside linebacker DN types, like he said, was kind of a concern. I mean, you looked at it and you saw Garrett Nelson, you saw Caleb Tanner, and then what did you have after that?
Yeah,
you didn't have much, and then JoJo Doman, who was that nickel spot, but he was rushing the passer, he was covering passes, he was covering receivers, tight ends out of the slot, so. It was a scary thought to lose him and to only have two guys really that you knew you could count on. And if one of them went down, what were you going to do after that? So the addition of O'Shawn Mathis and the development of Jamari Butler and Blaise Gunnerson is really something that you can look forward to. And as Scott Frost said, is really encouraging.
So we've talked about leadership, things like that. And one of the better leaders within the whole athletic department is Trev Alberts. And when we come back, we'll have the conversation when Trev Alberts sat down with our guys. It's about 27 minutes long, so that'll take up the entire next segment. We'll come back. Rico and I will close out the 2 o'clock hour around 2:50 p.m. or so, and we'll get you on with the rest of your Wednesday and onto the water cooler with Nate and Bach. But don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll have Trev Alberts' conversation with, I believe it was DP, Jay, and Vershawn sat down with the Husker athletic director and talked about just where Nebraska football is at as a program. Where's he and Scott Frost's relationship at? Because that was kind of a talking point yesterday, is how has their relationship grown over the last year? Because if you remember, Trev Alberts had been the athletic director for about a week and a half before Big Ten Media Days in 2021. And so they were still trying to feel each other out. They were still trying to get in that trust. And Trev Alberts talks a little bit about that in our conversation. So when we come back with more Big Ten Media Day coverage right here on the ticket, you'll hear from Husker Athletic Director Trev Alberts, our very own DP, Vershawn, and Jay Foreman right here. It is the happy hour. Nick Sainer, Rico with you guys. Send us your thoughts, 402-464-5685. We'll be right back on the happy hour.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. More of Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis is sponsored by Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group with BHHS Ambassador Real Estate and Gary Michaels Clothiers.
This is your High School Minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Gus Cottle. The Nebraska State Legion baseball tournament is in full swing. Over the weekend in the American Division at Don Roddy Field in Bellevue, Carpetland defeated Bellevue West 4-3, Elkhorn North defeated Grand Island 11-1, Millard South defeated Gretna 12-5, and Fremont defeated Bellevue East 12-2. After this weekend's results, Grand Island and Bellevue East have both been eliminated from the tournament. In the National Division at Den Hartog Field in Lincoln, Millard West defeated Pinnacle Bank 6-3. Hastings defeated Elkhorn South 7-4. Judd's Brothers defeated Columbus 5-2, and Creighton Prep defeated Millard North 11-6. Millard North and Pinnacle Bank have both been eliminated, and the final will take place between the winners of the National and American Division. This has been your Southeast Community College High School Minute. Learn more today at southeast.edu with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford.
The 2022 Nebraska football season is right around the corner, and we need you in Memorial Stadium this fall. A customizable Husker football 3-game mini plan is on sale now for only $180. To purchase your 2022 Husker football 3-game mini plan today, or for more information, visit huskers.com/tickets or call 402-472-3111. Go Big Red.
Hey, it's Nicklin Hames from Nebraska Volleyball. I hate wasting time in practice, and I want to help you stop wasting your time when you're looking for an electrician. High Electric has been serving the area for over 30 years for both residential and commercial properties. They are experts in everything like remodeling, new additions, hot tub installation, and more. And they take jobs from Beatrice to Omaha and all towns, big or small, in between. Call them today at 402-466-6606 or learn more at high-electric.com.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.58 per hour. And other select jobs is starting at $24.28 per hour, with wages growing up to $30.30 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today. 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis is sponsored by Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group with BHHS Ambassador Real Estate and Gary Michaels Clothiers.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary, sponsored by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Let's bring in the boss, Athletic Director Trev Alberts. Kind sir, thank you for doing this. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm here because of Jay Foreman.
See, you just settled the dispute. You just set it on fire. Set it on fire.
Trev, you just made VJ poke his lip out. Remember when kids are young and they don't get some ice cream, they got the lip poked out. Look at him. He saw you just a mess.
Hey, he just salted me. The other 34 just salted me up for a black shirt. Listen, I can't be mad. They're black shirts. They stick together. That's what they do. Yeah. I can't be mad at that. But I'm glad you're over here anyway, big bro.
No, I'm here for all of you. I appreciate you guys.
This has been exceptional. Like to be in this space and to know that the leadership has a plan. Your presence changes the space. Like that's the thing that's obvious to me. That your people's response to you. What message do you have for Husker Nation as they sit on the eve of a big football season?
Well, I would just say I always start with this because it's real and it's genuine. Is that I'm just so grateful to all of our fans, and I'll tell you, I sat in a day-long meeting with all the other ADs, with Commissioner Warren, Big Ten leadership, as we're trying to, sort through and think through what the future looks like, and what does intercollegiate athletics look like, and it's challenging, and then we start walking through other issues, and almost every time these ADs talk about, Nebraska, I mean, the amount of respect that nationally people have for our fan base and for the way they support their Huskers is unparalleled. And I think sometimes when we live in the little bubble we live in, that we sometimes, if we're not careful, we take it for granted. And so first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to them. And we're going to do everything we can to not take them for granted. We haven't been perfect and we're not always going to be perfect, but we're going to try to do what we can to make sure. And part of that is playing the field. Let's be honest, right? I mean, we have to have a product that, I want Husker Nation to know that we have really good alignment in the university. There are no excuses. There's no politics getting in the way. I have a really strong relationship with Coach Frost, the assistant coaches. I think everybody is working really hard. We're likely to make some mistakes, but I think, there's been a lot of change, and it's going to be, this camp is going to be critically important to, you can have a lot of talent, but it doesn't mean you have a team. And so how successful are we taking a new group of coaches and a new group of players and creating a team where they love each other, they care about each other. Great teams play for each other, not just for themselves. And, I played for Vashon, And
he said that on air every day for about 2 weeks.
But my point is, and not trying to be funny, but in a sense, but that's what we did have. I mean, you really genuinely cared for the brother next to you, and so I'm really interested to see how well and how successful we are at that. And but I've been just really pleased with how willing administratively and our coaches have been to do some tough stuff and look at ourselves inwardly and say, hey, there's no guarantee that this will work, but there was a guarantee that what we were previously doing wasn't being successful. So it'd be unwise to continue doing the same thing. So proud of it.
I'd like to ask one question before I get out of the way and let the family talk.
Well, your family?
I'm the weird uncle looking.
Stop all that.
I'm the weird uncle looking in the window. Just
Uncle Rollo. Uncle Rollo trip.
Right. This is you're special. You are special, kind sir. For everything that happens in space, you wear several hats all the time. A part of your competitive nature is what made you great. Your knowledge of football, your football IQ, your presence amongst elite athletes as well. How do you draw the line from the football guy and the administrator? Like, where's that line for you?
Well, it's hard, and I often find myself thinking beyond the line, and I try to hold myself accountable to that. And a lot of times what I think about is I think about my bosses, and I think about the Board of Regents, and I think about even the governor, and so, if Ronnie Green, which by the way, he does not do, or Ted Carter, came to me and said, hey, Trev, I'm taking a look at your executive staff here, and I'd like you to get rid of these people, get rid of that person. I'd have a real hard time with that, because in a sense, it would be if you don't trust me to run this department, then get rid of me.
Right.
And so at the same time, I think it's wholly acceptable, and they do that, by the way, for them to ask questions and to say, have you thought about this? And so I've tried to take a similar approach. I played football. I'm not a X's and O's guru guy. What I played is a long time ago. What they're doing now is nothing. So I don't want to overstate that. On the other hand, I think, as you build some trust and relationship with people, you can have honest, transparent, and authentic conversations. And, I think some of the things that Scott and not just Scott, but Amy and Fred and the rest of our coaches are more comfortable. Challenge is the wrong word, but, seeking asking the question, why administratively are we doing this today than they were a year from, ago. So I think Scott and I think can have, and we have had more poignant conversations. They're not tension filled. They're just, hey, why are we doing this? And, but that comes with time. It comes with trust, and trust goes both ways. I'm seeking hard to earn the trust of our coaches. I think the coaches have to work hard to earn the trust of administration. And when you do that together, you can have family conversations, and we're not always going to agree. And so, but they've been really productive. You can't make progress if you don't listen and talk to people.
Friction is required. It is absolutely required. Rashawn?
Oh man, I'm gonna lighten the load a little bit, Trevi, because how does it feel to walk back up? Was this here when you was here?
No, this is a real upgrade. We played. Sean, you don't know how old I am.
I do.
I played on the turf that they zipped up. That was on the concrete.
Yes.
And the RCA dome was remember that dome? And
Yep.
It's come a long ways. Peyton Manning, he was
just
pretty
about to
good
say
to the
that,
Colts.
yeah.
And but no, it's wonderful. My wife's from Indiana. She got 2 degrees from Indiana. Got her law school degree here in Indianapolis. So
Nice.
Her family still lives in northern Indiana. So a lot of great memories here. A lot of bad memories. I wish I wouldn't have been such a poor NFL player. But but it's good.
If you would have had a long career in NFL, you wouldn't be here today.
That might be true. God has a plan for all of our lives, and you just humbly accept it.
Right.
Do the best you can with what you got, where
Well,
you are.
well, I want to tell you, thank you for taking it easy on me. Did you brother-in-law me when I was at Nebraska?
No.
Okay, I want to make sure that didn't happen.
VJ has always been easy work. That's if you want to go up the depth chart, you just find VJ or Tim. I mean,
Hey, hold up.
Trevor's
Just
in a
hold on a
position
minute.
that he
See,
can't tell the
I was
truth.
trying to be politically correct, but now you're gonna make me take the gloves off, Jay Foreman.
Well, VJ.
Because you've never been able to deal with me, sir. Ever in your career.
But this is how this is the beauty of how this works. Jay's opinion, they said between his opinion, your opinion, now we'll get the right opinion, and we'll get it straight from Trevor.
Yeah.
How did this go
He wasn't
down?
even there. He wasn't even in. He wasn't even in the building.
I can answer.
He wasn't even in the building.
One common denominator, which is VJ.
Mm-hmm.
We both have had success. VJ helped it, so we gotta help. We gotta.
You never had success against me, sir. Trev, on the other hand, yeah, I was a freshman, true freshman. I taught you, young pup. Don't forget that.
No,
Trevor, I wanted to ask you one thing. Just one.
BJ was a really good player.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was a good mouthpiece. He always kept everything light. You know.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you. As far as recruiting, and then obviously with like coaches and stuff, and as the season goes, how important is when you look at coaches, like it's not just wins and losses, because it's just as important in recruiting. We talked to Coach Alvarez about how much character is the essence of physicality. If you want to be a physical team, you got to have. It's got to be everything you do in life. So I just wanted to see how you navigate that, because that's got to be hard. Because you got to always dig deeper into what really makes somebody tick in this day and time.
It's a great question, and I think it's one of the things that Coach Osborne, as he grew in his career as a coach, was really, really good at. I mean, he identified the right type of people. He knew it. He was the kind of player he was looking for. Right. Not everybody would have been successful at the University of Nebraska. And quite frankly, there were way more talented guys than me. Right. That weren't successful because there was, to your point, a certain type of mindset and a certain mental, I think, acuity that was necessary. But I also think that's part of a young coach and his or her growth. I think when you look at what Scott has done, not only from a coaching perspective, but I think they've tried to make some changes, in the recruiting area. And, it's so hard. I can only imagine as a coach, and I've never been one, but if you're trying to build a program and you look at your roster and you're saying, hey, and you look at film and you see this young man and my goodness, he can run and he can jump, and you get lulled into the athleticism. That doesn't mean he can play.
Yeah.
And I think it takes security. It takes experience and wisdom. The world is full of, not just Nebraska, 5-star recruits who look incredible, who will end up with 7 career catches for 118 yards.
Right.
And so, so I think I'm gaining some confidence that I think we're growing in that area.
Right.
I'm certainly not suggesting that we're done, but a willingness to think differently in that area is going to be critical.
All right, Trevor, this is the best question. I've been meaning to ask you this ever since the first time I met you, actually on my recruiting trip, or not after, once you got to the NFL. How was it when you interviewed Bruce Smith that time and he passed? Hey, Trev, I got to ask you. Because I was at that party the night before, and I watched it live. It was me and Mike Rucker. We were in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And Bruce Smith had his Super Bowl party at Atlanta Athletic Club. And we were literally I'd watch you all the time. I think you're on CNN then, CNN Sports. I got to give it to you. Hey, if you ever want to know if Trevor's composed under pressure, it was live, right?
Yeah, just let him fall.
Hey, it was live.
What happened? Give me the backstory.
Well, Bruce Smith, he had a party, a Super Bowl party. I left at 4. Bruce was still going. I don't know what time he interviewed with Trev the next night or day, but we were all recovering still before we were going to go out the next night. So we just flipped it on, and Mike Rucker, Jason Wiltz, all former Nebraska players saw Trev. He was working for CNN at that time.
It was on TBS.
Or TBS, excuse me. And he was interviewing Bruce, and Bruce was interviewing him. And I was like, he don't look right, And he literally just went over like timber. Boom. Trev looked at him, and then they panned back to Trev. He kept it cool. and then Bruce Smith said that he was dehydrated. I was like, bro, you weren't dehydrated. I was with you all last night. I'm dehydrated. I wouldn't have fell out like that. So I just had to ask you, what was that like?
Let's do this. We'll run a quick stationary break. It'll take 30 seconds, and we'll come back. I do want to ask him about the Predators that we have on base.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Laugh, he didn't do anything.
We're here with the boss and Trevor Alberts. This is what the comedy is. I know that this is what happens, and I appreciate you sitting in for it. The current edition of this Huskers team now has guys who play your position, who must at some level get you excited about the possibilities of having an O'Shawn Mathis, a Garrett Nelson, a Caleb Tanner, etc. What do you want for them? What would you say to them? They can change this entire program as you did.
Well, it's just interesting. You look back to those days and Coach Samuel did such a great job of identifying, people in every single year. Man, I don't know when you had Jeff Mills, Broderick Thomas. It was every single year we had a first-round draft pick who got pressure on the quarterback, and it was a position that you really wanted to play because you knew it was important to the team. But I see some talent that can get pressure on the quarterback, and I think as you look at what the portal's been able to do, and you're able to identify areas of need, I think having a left tackle, having a quarterback, and having a guy that can get pressure on the quarterback is critical, especially in the Big Ten Conference. You have to be able to win one-on-ones. And I think Nebraska, and I think they've got other players too. I think across the board, they have a chance of getting some pressure on the quarterback. And if you can't get pressure on the quarterback, you just can't cover guys that long.
I need to ask you this professionally, because we at this station try to help maneuver NIL and all of the inner workings. And I just want to say this. If there is a way for us to help you with that, we are open to that, because I don't want to put you in a tough spot. That's not what we do. But I think the idea of you being able to hear your student athletes have voice, be heard, be seen would be helpful to them. How are you maneuvering through the whole NIL responsibility, rebounding, resetting the GPS and such? How should we, because we want to follow your lead. So what is the approach and what should we be looking at?
Well, first of all, thank you for the help, number one. Number two, I would just say, where we are today is light years from where we were 6 months ago. And this has been a space that's been really hard for me to understand. As I've said before, trying hard to thread the needle in, the VJ, if they were still players today, I want to do everything I can to let them monetize their name, image, and likeness and at the highest level.
Right.
I don't want to do anything that takes a tool out of the toolbox from Scott or Fred or John Cook.
Right. At
the same time, I'm kind of responsible for protecting the integrity of this brand.
Right. That end means something.
And so how do you thread that needle? Well, the problem is there's no rules. And, and there's really ambiguity around which rules still exist. It's one of the things we're tackling in the Big Ten Conference is how do we approach it? So we've got help, and I think we're slowly being more aggressive in that area. I've just taken the approach. I don't know if this is right or not, but we're never going to be first, but we're not going to be last. And so we're going to try to, just manage it. And I think we've, done a good job with it. But we're always looking, and I think we'll have some, within the next couple months, some additional resources and announcements that will help us in that space. But eventually, I think we're going to, as an association and as a conference, have to come up with some sort of, not to eliminate it, not to manage it, but we have to put, the big word was guardrails. I mean, how do we have at least some consistency around it so that we don't have one institution? By the way, California state law mandates certain things. They're now coming into our conference in 2024. So now politics enter into how we're handling this. So that's what we spent a day on yesterday. And how are we going to maintain some competitive equity? How do we create these opportunities for young people? And by the way, there's a Title IX component to it. We can't spend all of our time just getting these two guys NIL deals. We've got student athletes on the female side that we're focused on as well too. So a lot of work, but I think these types of things better positions Nebraska than the alternative structure that we'd currently had.
Trev, when you think camp is getting ready to open in the next couple of days, what are you looking for to say we took some steps forward in terms of practice? Well,
I mean, I think you want to see you want to see a level of intensity. I mean, everybody's going to be focused real quick on the offensive line. The hardest thing for me, and back in my day doing a little bit what you guys were doing for 12 years, I learned a tough lesson. You can get yourself fooled by going to a practice because you think, that defense isn't very good. And all of a sudden you find out later the offense is really good after they start playing other people, and the defense wasn't as bad as you thought. Or you can get tricked into thinking this offense is really, really good.
Right.
Well, you've seen them against your own people. You haven't really – it's hard to make an evaluation until you get into a game. I think, I know there's some risk to play a conference opponent in another country in week 0. It's very true. But I think if I was a player, I don't know about you guys, but if I knew we were playing a conference game week 1, I'd have a different level of mindset and intensity. And I think that's to our advantage, given where we are as a program and the amount of change that we've had in the offseason. I think this is a good thing for us. Sure. I know there's risk, but so I'm looking forward to seeing, with Nebraska, effort, focus, mistakes that are made are corrected in the appropriate way. Focus on special teams. I saw a lot of it in spring ball. So you're going to see some change, and you're going to see some effort that'll look a little bit different. And you're going to see some people we've got a great opportunity. I mean, I know it's just us old guys, but I hope these young people understand the window of time is so narrow. Man, take advantage of this. Right. Enjoy it. It's the greatest blessing in the world. You get to be a football player for the University of Nebraska in the Big Ten Conference.
Bringing that attitude back is what we need. Yeah. You get to go to the greatest university and play for the greatest team in America. You can't change. You can't buy that anywhere else. You can't go to Wisconsin. You can't go to Madison and get that.
Nope.
What would you have done if you went to Madison, Jay Foreman? You'd have been getting whooped by Nebraska.
Yeah, eventually.
And Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah.
Trev, the elephant in the room is USC and UCLA and what it brings to the conference. From operations standpoint, it changes. Like you've got to replan, redirect, some new rivalries to create, even in other sports. And I don't want to lose it just on football.
Right.
That bringing in USC and UCLA brings in a whole lot more for a whole lot of other programs. What, in your mind, is the priority and focus when we here in Nebraska look at USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten Conference?
Well, first and foremost, the nice thing is we have 2 years to onboard them. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to start immediately. And one of the things we've talked about is, the Big Ten takes very seriously the core values in terms of and principles on who we are. And at the end of the day, and Kevin talked a little bit about this, at his press conference, is that while the world is changing and, will probably continue to change in terms of player movement and NIL and dollars and compensation, wherever that goes, at the end of the day, there's still going to be a conference that's really focused on student athletes and their health, well-being. The educational component is going to be really important, will always be important. So I think that, we're not concerned about that with UCLA or USC, but we're going to make sure that the Big Ten core values don't change. So you get 2 years to onboard them to make sure they're part of what we're doing. But there's just so much to sort through. There's our media deals. There's numbers of conference games, divisions, no divisions.
Can I sit in on that media? The media deals? Can we?
Well, I will only tell you.
Fly in the room, fly on the wall.
It's fascinating stuff. It's all good.
Yeah.
But I would just tell you, because I know, and I'll end with this. When I took the job in Omaha in 2009, one of the local successful business people, I will say, said, Trev, welcome to Nebraska. You're going to love it here. Nebraskans will expect and demand progress, but they hate change. So good luck.
And brother, put that on a shirt. Put that. I wish somebody giving me that right now. I wish somebody giving me that shirt when I got here. Like that would have told me a lot.
When you get into Omaha, it says, "Welcome to Nebraska." That's what you need to put there.
Put that underneath that.
Right.
So what I have talked about as much as I can, and obviously I can't, talk about everything, but I just want our fans to know, and I've talked about the amount of change. And, this is going to look different. It's going to feel different. We're going to be playing different folks. Travel will be different. It's already different with freedom of movement and NIL and 14 new players. I mean, so I just think for us, an institution that really values tradition which I do too. Making sure that we're open-minded enough to embrace, because the change, we're not driving or leading the change, but our ability to adapt to the change will be critically important in our ability to be successful. I've said it before, there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers that emerge out of this. And I feel a burden that my job is to do everything I can to help make sure that we're winners and not a loser out of this deal. And so that's where we're focused.
I know you need to get going. Success. If you could give me a description of Husker football and what it should be, what would that be?
Well, I just think it's a team that's reflective of Nebraskans and our alumni, and guys that used to play. I mean, and I'm not, when I say this, I'm not meaning to infer or imply that we're not there today. I'm sure we're going to have to make progress, but I just want it to be a team that, Nebraskans value hard work. They value doing the little things right, being fundamentally sound, playing for Nebraska, playing together. And never, ever, ever quitting, no matter what the circumstance is. I mean, you talk about people in Nebraska in our state, that, it just never ceases to fascinate me. We'll have a flood and, we'll have local farmers that lose their entire herd. They don't complain. They just pull up their bootstraps and go figure it out, and we do that in Nebraska, but we do it together. When the going gets really tough, we come together. And, I think, listen, I mean, we're in a state with 1.8 million people. There's a lot of strengths about Nebraska, but let's just be honest. We have some drawbacks too. Well, there's some strengths about USC. There's some drawbacks. They've got some challenges there too. Let's not get fixated on our challenges. Let's leverage our strengths and be who we are. And let's not be ashamed to be who we are. And that's not just in our programs coaching, that's administratively too. And so, man, I'm proud to be a Cornhusker. I'm proud to be a Nebraskan, and for all that entails. And what I think Nebraska is so special is you look at Omaha, you look at what Omaha brings, and you look at business leadership, and you look at just entrepreneurialism, you look at Lincoln, you look at Western Nebraska. We got it all. Right. We have a state that has everything that represents America. And our job is, and we can use Husker athletics to bring people together, not divide, but bring people together. I think we can be a powerful tool in that. And, but winning helps. And so we're gonna VJ said I had to do that, so we're gonna try to
Hey,
it's the only reason why we brought him.
Just think how many sacks my man would have if he was on this team where they get to play all the time and didn't have to rotate with the Dante Jones and
that's true.
I look at these linebackers
Dwayne,
and they talk about they playing 80 plays. I'm like, man, look, I remember going through practice and only playing Pacific or the team, and you're getting 12 plays and you get they were like, oh, you get a series in the second half. Okay, cool. We go 3 and out. It's not even really worth warming up. They playing ain't the faint. Just imagine, right? Just imagine how many sacks that, I always tell people Ndamukong Suh was a bad boy, but
right.
Jason Peter and those guys and Trev and Grant will get to play the amount of plays that they got to play.
But if you think if they played those amount of plays,
we wouldn't be winning.
Yeah, well, it might not have been effective, and then
the depth wouldn't be.
Yeah, the Jay Formans of the world, that was number 2 your redshirt freshman year. That guy that was number 2 out there. No, I couldn't. I had to take that back.
Couldn't resist.
If Matt, could you imagine the plays that you make? We take those plays away.
But if you imagine if you have the kind of depth,
yeah,
and talent where
you're just reloading,
where you're basically. Part of when I came out, I needed to come out because if you play every play,
right,
all out,
right,
it's okay to get a break, right? And we, Coach Sammy, we watch the film and he just go back. Are you sprinting here?
Right.
And you get every guy on defense sprinting every single play.
Yeah.
You need to rotate, but you got to have the depth to be able to do that.
Yeah. It'd be hard to do. It was hard to beat us because of that, though.
Yeah. Kind sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for what you do. Thank you for how you do it. That's important, and it matters. We
Other
appreciate
34.
you. Yeah, we appreciate this. Kind sir.
Big Red.
The first 34.
That is Trevor Alberts. We'll throw the more from Big Ten Media Days when we come back.
93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis is sponsored by Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group with BHHS Ambassador Real Estate and Gary Michaels Clothiers.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. More of the happy hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Imagine your next staff meeting. Now imagine your next staff meeting with a side of ribs. Your next client presentation? Or that same client presentation with brisket and baked beans. It's better, right? Let Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul take care of all of your business catering needs. Feed the staff, cater your next event, whatever you need, Mary Ellen's can help. They can even host your events in their brand new event space located right next to the restaurant. Go see for yourself. Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul at 29th and Pine Lake or online at maryellens.com. Let them fix you a plate.
Mike Shaver here for Trek CBD. Summer is here, and that means you're having garage parties with neighbors, hitting the golf course and the pool. The drink of this summer isn't your typical seltzer. It's drinkable Delta 8. Yep, Trek CBD has drinkable Delta 8 seltzers with mango and lime flavors for 4-packs, 12-packs, coming in a variety of mango, watermelon, lime, and berry. They also have hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups to put in your beverages, and as always, the excellent Delta 8 gummies. Trek CBD at 84th and Andermatt and TrekCBD.com. Trek CBD, CBD done right.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Brown Shoe Fit has all types of shoes for you to excel this summer. Check out their new Keen and Tiva brand sandals for hiking and Olukai sandals for sitting by the pool. Plus, they're stocked up on Hey Dudes to catch you up on the latest shoe fashion. They also have shoes in brands like Brooks, Hoka, Merrell, On, and many more. Browns has the local professionals to get the proper fit, aided by their high-tech foot scanner by Atrex. Stop by Brown Shoe Fit today, just south of 66th and Q in Lincoln.
93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis is sponsored by Ben Bleicher of Professional Realty Group with BHHS Ambassador Real Estate and Gary Michaels Clothiers.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we're back. Nick and Rico with you, wrapping up a Wednesday show here. Water Cooler with Bach and Nathan are next. Couple quick hits, real quick. We're going to go over the hour, but that's all right. They gave us permission.
They said we could.
Yeah, they said we could. And even if they didn't give us permission,
We'd still do it.
We were still going to go over the hour. Here's a little bit of a note. Ryan Day said at Big Ten Media Days that he was on the golf course with Chip Kelly.
I saw that.
When the news about USC and UCLA came out. And he goes, I stepped out of the golf cart and said, hey, we're in the same conference now.
That's funny.
And I bet that's when Chip Kelly started to cry.
And then Chip Kelly was like, well, I'm leaving.
I think it's time to retire.
You know what? I don't feel too good.
It's time to hang up the cleats. Shout out to DP, Vershawn, Jay for that great conversation with Trev Alberts that you guys heard last segment. That was great stuff. If you have missed any of our interviews, conversations, and want to go back and listen to them from the last 2 days of Big Ten Media Days, you can head over to theticketfm.com, the podcast page. There is a page or a button specified as Big Ten Media Day interviews. So head over there, listen to all those. There's plenty of great options there. They will not be deleted, and so you'll be able to listen to them from now until possibly forever. Who knows?
Possibly
forever.
Who knows?
Okay, so we're watching, before we get out of here, we're watching the Milwaukee Brewers Minnesota Twins game. And Rowdy Tellez, which great name, by the way.
First off, just the greatest name for a guy as big as he is.
Hit a 3-run moonshot to right field just 25 seconds ago.
Cranked it.
Oh, Andrew McCutchen. People forget about him.
I love Andrew McCutchen.
Anyway,
it's my guy.
One of the best things in all of sports, maybe it's just baseball, is that the Milwaukee Brewers mascot slides down the slide.
A little twirly slide.
A little circular slide.
Yeah.
When they hit a home run. And with our live commentary, Rico and I were just in those two go, wee!
It's one of the best celebrations. One of the best home run celebrations in baseball.
It's a great celebration. But all right, that'll do it for us today. Once again, this has been the Happy Hour. Nick Sainert, Enrique Alvarez Clary. If you ever want to reach out to us, Nick_Sainert on the Twitter sphere at Radio Rico AC as well.
Yerp.
If you missed any of the interviews, stick around. They're going to play some back on the afternoon shows. But that'll do it for us. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. It's a pretty normal day. We get everybody back. Maybe they're going to take a buffer day. We'll see.
I don't think they will. I hope they don't.
I hope they don't either. So that'll do it for us. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. See ya.
Adios.
93.7 The Ticket's coverage of big